at any cost. For more, I'm joined by Ali Riaz. He's the Vice Chairman of the National Consensus Commission. Thank you for joining me, Ali. We have now the announcement that the election date being set for next February. Muhammad Yunus has said he will not run. The party, of course, of ousted Sheikh Hasina, the Awami League, is currently suspended. What's its future and what parties will we therefore be seeing contest this election?
The election date has been set in sometime in February, and of course it is expected that all political parties will be joining this election. However, there are a few other issues, for example, whether the signing of the National Charter, that might have a determining effect as to who is going to join the election. But it is expected that all the political parties join. Awami League at this point, all its activities have been banned because until the trial is over of Sheikh Hasina and others, particularly those leaders who are involved in heinous crimes and crimes against humanity, are completed, the Awami League would not be able to operate and participate in the election, it appears. But it seems that everyone is ready to go ahead and go forward and join the election because Bangladeshis have had not an opportunity to vote in the last 15, 16 years.
We also heard Muhammad Yunus reiterating the need for widespread reforms as part of his July proclamation. But there has been criticism at times about the speed of these and the difficulty in achieving consensus. Is there any more clarity about what these reforms might look like or when they might come into force?
With regard to the reform, what we have been trying to do from the Consensus Commission is to bring all political parties together and agree on some of the issues of fundamental reforms, especially on the governance issue, electoral system, and going forward of creating a democratic Bangladesh. Many issues have been agreed upon and many seems to be still to be resolved. But most of these agreements seems to be on path to create a better governance in the coming years. And we expect that before the election process starts, the political parties would have a conversation among themselves, facilitated by the National Consensus Commission as to how to implement this. But generally speaking, the parties have agreed that some of the major issues, such as independence of judiciary, creating a bicameral parliament, or making sure that the prime minister cannot be elected or be in power for more than 10 years. And there are many other issues like this which have been agreed upon, which we expect that would help Bangladesh to move forward for an accountable system of governance.
I understand as well one of the biggest sticking points on achieving consensus has been trying to increase the number of seats for women. Could you give us a sense of that for an international audience? What's the debate here?
With regard to the women's seat, currently Bangladesh Parliament has 50 reserved seats for women, which is elected by the Parliament members. But what was demanded and it was agreed upon that it has to be extended to number 100. But how they would be elected, the women leaders are expecting and demanded for a long time that it should be directly elected from the voters. But political parties couldn't come to an agreement as to how to, plan this election, of direct election. So currently what has been agreed that the 50 reserve seats would continue and all the political parties would increase their number of nominees, number of candidates were women. It is expected, as agreed, the first in immediate election, there would be at least 5%, and then it would continue in the 15% and so on. It is not a great solution. We expected that the political parties would agree to have direct elections for the women, but it couldn't work out. But I expect that going forward, the political parties would make sure that the women are nominated for getting elected from the direct seats so that they can represent the aspirations of the women of this country.
And one other question has been about whether or not the supporters of the Awami League will face trial. Analysts say that hundreds have been detained without trial over the last 12 months. Will we see them facing trial?
The trial of some of the Awami League leaders, including former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, started, and we would see that it continues. We expect that this would continue, and the due process will be followed. There have been incidents, there have been instances where people have been arrested without very clear charges. That has disappointed me in some ways, and a lot of people are raising questions. The government has taken some steps to make sure that those who are innocent are not put on trial or face any kind of persecution. But it is a very complex process because the police that is operating, the legal system that is operating, is still operating under the rules that they have followed for 16 years. Yet, I think the government should take measures immediately as strictly possible to make sure that the due process is followed.
Ali Riaz, Vice Chairman of the National Consensus Commission, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.